You know this word when you read it. You see it on the page and think, of course I know this. But when someone says the same word out loud, in real conversation, your brain gives you nothing. You miss it completely. If it happens to you, the problem may not be that your vocabulary is weak. The problem may be that your vocabulary is too visual. Hi, my name is Polly and I explain how language learning actually works. Subscribe if you want practical language learning backed by cognitive science. In this video, I want to show you how to use reading while listening properly, because a lot of learners do it randomly. They play an audiobook, they follow the text, they hope their listening will improve, and sometimes it helps. But if you use it with the wrong material or without a clear method, it can turn into passive input again. So today we will cover what reading while listening actually trains, why it helps vocabulary and listening, how to choose the right material, the exact step-by-step routine, common mistakes, how to adapt it for beginners, intermediate, and advanced learners. When you read, your brain sees the written form of a word. For example, you see a word on the page. You recognize the spelling, you connect it to meaning. That is useful, but real conversation does not give you spelling. It gives you sound, and sound is much messier than text. In real speech, words connect, sounds disappear, stress changes, pronunciation becomes reduced, people speak faster than your brain wants. So a word can be very familiar in reading, but still hard to recognize in listening. That is because your brain may know the visual form better than the sound form. This is why learners say, I can read the language, but I cannot understand spoken language. They're not lying. They may genuinely know many words, but those words are not strongly connected to the sound yet. A word is not just one thing in your brain. A useful vocabulary item has several connections. There is orthography, how the word looks, phonology, how the word sounds, semantics, what the word means. If you only read, you mostly strengthen spelling plus meaning. If you only listen, you strengthen sound plus meaning, but you may not notice spelling clearly. Reading while listening puts both forms together. Your eyes see the word, your ears hear the word, your brain connects both to meaning. That is why this method can be especially useful for learners whose reading is stronger than their listening. It helps your brain build a more complete word representation. Not just I recognize this word on paper, but I recognize this word when someone says it. One study on second language vocabulary learning compared two groups of learners. One group read a story only, another group read the same story while listening to the audio. Both groups met the new words many times. The reading-only group became faster at processing the written words, but the reading while listening group built stronger knowledge of how the word sounded. And this is the important part. They improved sound knowledge without losing spelling accuracy. So the point is not that reading is bad. Reading is powerful, but reading while listening can add something reading alone often does not train well enough. The sound form of vocabulary. And for speaking and listening, that matters a lot. But there is a catch. Reading while listening only works if the material is close enough to your level. This is where many learners make a mistake. They choose a native level audiobook, a movie, or a TV series. And then the audio is full of unknown vocabulary, slangs, fast speech, background noise, multiple speakers, cultural references, emotional acting, reduced pronunciation. That can be useful later. But for learning vocabulary through reading while listening, it can be too much. Your brain cannot connect spelling, sound, and meaning if it is just trying to survive the audio. So the best material is not always the most authentic material. The best material is the material your brain can actually process. For many learners, graded readers with audio are perfect because the language is controlled. The vocabulary is closer to your level. The speech is clearer. And you can repeat the same section without getting lost. A common question is, do movies with subtitles count as reading while listening? The answer is yes, potentially. The principle is similar. You're combining text and audio, but movies are usually harder because subtitles are not always designed for learning. Sometimes they are shortened, sometimes they do not match the speech exactly. Sometimes the dialogue is very fast, and movies contain a lot of informal spoken language. So if the movie is too difficult, subtitles may help you follow the story, but they may not help you build stable vocabulary. For learning, level matters more than entertainment. So yes, subtitles can help, but they work best when the scene is short, understandable, and repeated. Not when you watch 2 hours of a difficult dialogue and hope your brain absorbs everything. Now let's make it practical. Here's a simple 15-minute reading while listening routine. Step 1. Choose a short text with an audio. Choose something short, not a whole chapter, not a whole episode. Start with 1 to 2 minutes of audio. Good options: graded reader audio, short podcast transcript, textbook dialogue, simple news article with audio, one short scene with accurate subtitles. The key is you should understand most of it. Not everything, but enough that your brain can follow. A good rule: if you cannot understand the general meaning after 1 or 2 listens, it is too hard for this exercise. Listen once without reading. First, listen without the text. Do not panic if you miss things. Just notice, what is the topic? Which words do I catch? Where does my brain get lost? This gives you a baseline. You are checking what your ears can do before your eyes help. Step 3. Read while listening. Now play the audio again and follow the text. Do not pause every second. Try to stay with the audio. Your job is not to analyze every grammar point. Your job is to connect the written words with the sound. Notice which words sound different from what you expected. Where words connect. Where the speaker stresses the sentence. Which familiar words you did not recognize by sound. This is where the learning starts. Step 4. Mark only a few useful things. After one round, choose only 3 to 5 things to mark. Do not highlight the whole text. Look for words you knew visually but missed in audio. Useful chunks, connected speech, pronunciation surprises, phrases you might actually use. I can make an example in English. Maybe you see going to, but hear gonna. Maybe you see did you, but hear did ya. Maybe you realize that a word you know has a different stress pattern that you expected. These small discoveries are valuable. Step 5. Listen again while looking less. Now listen again. This time, try not to stare at every word. Use the text as support, not as a crutch. Look down when you get lost. Then look away again. This helps your ears take more responsibility, because the final goal is not reading with audio forever. The final goal is better listening. Step 6. Say one paragraph out loud. Now choose one short paragraph or a few sentences, play the audio, pause, repeat out loud, or read it aloud with the audio once. This is where you start connecting listening to speaking. You are not just recognizing the language. You are letting your mouth practice the rhythm too. Keep this short. One paragraph is enough. At the end, close the text, say a short summary out loud, just 1 or 2 sentences. For example, this part was about, the speaker explained that, one useful phrase was. This turns input into output. And that is what many learners miss. They consume language, but they never ask the brain to produce anything with it. So the full routine is: 1. Choose 1 to 3 minutes of level-appropriate audio with text. Listen once without reading. 3. Read while listening. 4. Mark 3 to 4 useful sound or vocabulary discoveries. Listen again while relying less on the text. 6. Say one short paragraph out loud. 7. Close the text and summarize it in 2 or 3 sentences. That's enough. You do not need 1 hour. You need focused repetitions. Beginner version. If you're a beginner, make it easier. Use very short dialogues, graded readers, slow, clear audio, simple stories, one speaker. Do not use movies yet for this exercise. Your goal is not to understand native speech immediately. Your goal is to build the connection between written words and spoken words. For beginners, even 5 minutes can be enough. If you're intermediate, you can use slightly more natural materials. For example, YouTube videos with accurate captions, podcast transcripts, graded readers at a higher level, short interviews, clear scenes from TV shows, but keep the section short. A mistake intermediate learners make is choosing material that is interesting but too dense. If every sentence has 5 unknown words, it's not good practice. It just overload. If you are advanced, you can use this method for nuance. You can focus on reduction, intonation, idioms, discourse markers, natural phrasing, pronunciation details, speaking style. At this level, reading while listening is not just for understanding, it's for noticing how fluent speech is built. You can take one short clip and study how the speakers organize ideas, not just what they say, but how they say it. Let's talk about common mistakes. Mistake 1, choosing material that is too difficult. This is the biggest one. If the level is wrong, the method stops working. Your brain needs enough understanding to make connections. Mistake 2, highlighting everything. If you highlight everything, nothing is important. Choose only a few useful words or chunks. Mistake 3, only following the text with your eyes. If you only read while the audio plays, your ears may become passive. Sometimes look away, replay short sections, make your ears work. Mistake 4, never repeating out loud. Reading while listening is great, but if your goal is speaking, add a small output step. Say one paragraph, retell the idea, use one phrase in your own sentence. Mistake 5, doing too much. Long sessions often become unfocused. A focused 15-minute session is better than 1 hour of vague exposure. Progress does not always feel dramatic. At first, you may simply notice, I have seen this word before, but I have never heard it clearly. Then I can follow this paragraph more easily. Then I can recognize this phrase without looking. Then I can use this phrase when I speak. This is the path, from visual recognition to sound recognition to spoken use. Reading while listening works best when it is not passive. Use it to connect spelling, sound, and meaning. Choose material at the right level. Repeat short sections. Notice sound patterns. Then produce something small. That is how you turn input into something your brain can actually use. Try this routine with one short audio today, and if you want, comment your level beginner, intermediate, or advanced, and I can suggest what kind of material you should use.